I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, here with Jordan Ellis. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We had a big fight this past weekend. We had a Bantamweight showcase between the number 2 ranked contender, Cory Sandhagen, and the returning 2-time champion, TJ Dillashaw. Before we get into the main event, thoughts on the entire card. I thought the main card was pretty decent. There was some good performances on there. I didn't catch the prelims, so maybe there was some stuff on there I missed.
Yeah, there was lots of good. It was a really, really strong card. Few controversial decisions. You know, some of the fights of the year were on there. It was a card that delivered. You know, it did seem like a top heavy card in terms of the main event was so strong, but everyone else showed up too. And yeah, looking forward to breaking them down.
Absolutely. And obviously, we'll jump in from the top. We'll go to the main event first. And TJ Dillashaw got the win. I know a lot of people did pick Sandhagen to win the decision. But personally, I thought it was razor close. Could have gone either way. I don't necessarily think it was a bad decision. What are your thoughts?
No, it was a coin flip, but I thought Dillashaw done enough. I was pretty confident when the cards were coming out that he was gonna get the win. I think he was just a bit busier. I think he mixed the martial arts a bit better, and yeah, I think in the end, I think he done enough. And you know, we've been on the show, and I know over the last 2 years we've bashed Dillashaw, but I just don't think now's the time. He showed a bit of everything in that fight. He looked absolutely fantastic. I'm sure they're testing him and they'll all come back clean, hopefully. And yeah, very good win against, the top contenders. So yeah, nothing but praise for him.
And look, that first round, he went through some adversity, got landed with a big flying knee, had his knee torn apart in that heel hook. And, when I saw that heel hook go on and he didn't clear the knee line, I was like, this is going to be the end of the fight here. But he starts raining down hammers and just bears through it. And, it didn't seem to bother him further in the fight, but I did hear him saying that the reason he couldn't get takedowns, in his opinion, was because he couldn't put weight on that knee. So it does make you wonder what would have happened if he didn't have his knee shredded in the first, how the fight would have looked. Because obviously he won the fight and he looked competitive for the duration of the fight, even with a buggered knee, So that was interesting. I thought Sandhagen looked good also, though. And I know that the issue for Sandhagen in this fight was just the pressure and the clinch game of Dillashaw just to get in close and grind him out. Wasn't the best win you could have. Not what Dillashaw was probably hoping for in his return, but it's a win nonetheless.
Yeah, and it's a huge. I was very confident in Sandhagen for the majority of the fight week, and then I started to listen to other people, and they thought they were bringing up Dillashaw's wrestling and how he might be able to wrestle him. And I think the size stops that. The size of Sandhagen, a lot of bantamweights are going to struggle to get him down, even though his wrestling's not the best. So, but I think Dillashaw did brilliantly. He mixed in the strikes, and I think Sandhagen's problem was that at one point the fight just seemed to be on a plate for him. It seemed to be there in the second round. And he started playing with his food a little bit, I think. And I think he was made to pay that. He ended up a bit tired. He getting caught in silly positions. And ultimately, TJ did enough. So, yeah, brilliant fight. And Sandhagen said afterwards that he's potentially still only one fight away from a title shot. So, they're both right there. I think it is 50-50 in terms of the fans who won. So, it's definitely not a robbery. I think it's a fine decision, either guy. And it was just, it's just great to watch two elite level fighters go at it for 5 rounds and match each other punch for punch. It was a great fight.
One thing that did rub me the wrong way was one of the judges scored, or maybe two of the judges, I can't remember, it was one or two, but they scored round 4 for Dillashaw, which in my opinion, just a wrong scorecard, right? That 4th round was a Sandhagen round. The 5th one was the one that I thought could have gone either way. But yeah, definitely 2 and 4 in my opinion was Sandhagen. Did you see it that way?
Yeah, I stopped scoring after round 3. So after round 3, I had I think I had Dillashaw two rounds to 1 up, and then I stopped scoring it. But just by the end, that my general sense was that the TJ had done enough. So we'll get into the judges later. Obviously, that was for some people that was a bad card, but there was plenty of worse cards that went on through the night. So I don't even think that's worth talking about too much, because it was a close fight. No one got robbed, and yeah, for me, the right person won.
And so what's next for both these guys? First, we'll go to Dillashaw. Obviously, it's a title shot, I imagine. We can both agree on that. But who do you think he faces against? Do you think it's going to be Aljamain? Do you think it's going to
be... No, it's going to be Jan. I'm fully on that hype train. I think he had the beating of Sterling before, obviously, that unfortunate knee. And yeah, he's just got to go back and keep doing what he's doing and get that win, get that belt, and then it's TJ Dillashaw. But Dillashaw, he's been chinny. Well, you can hit and hurt Dillashaw. And I think that's what Sandhagen thought he'd be able to do. But his chin was amazing as well. You know, he showed everything in that fight. So he'll be a tough test. I don't think he'll just fall down at 135. But I do expect Jan to beat everyone at the minute in bantamweight.
So what, you take Jan over Dillashaw in the title fight?
I take Jan pretty much over everyone. Cejudo is, if he comes back, he could potentially be an issue. But, you know, Jan at this point, I think he's 27. He's just got to UFC. I think he's just going to get better, and he's going to kind of cement the division as his own, which I'm looking forward to see.
So I'll play hypothetical then. If Aljamain does lose that title fight, and obviously he's the former champion because he did claim the belt in his last fight, do you think it makes sense for Sandhagen to get the rematch against Aljamain in his next fight?
I'm just thinking who else would be there. Who Rob Font maybe. Like obviously that Aljamain Sterling fight is so fresh in the memory, and it's do you want to see that again? Because it was like a minute submission. So I don't think there's a great desire to make that fight again, and it all depends how Aljamain loses to Jan. You know, if he loses bad, you don't want to put him straight in another number one contender fight because there's no interest in making that Jan rematch. So yeah, it all depends. But Sandhagen Font, I think, is a good fight. You know, right now, you know, without anything else playing out, Sandhagen Font, it's still a really strong fight. It keeps him at the top of the division, and it gives Font the chance to, you know, climb the rankings too.
I seem to think we'll get Dillashaw versus Font because I think the title fight's not going to be till October. That sounds right. That's what. And if that's the case, what happens if someone gets injured in the title fight? They have to sit out another 6 months, you know. So I think we get to see Dillashaw again because he seems keen to go again. So once his knees rehabbed, once that scars cleaned up and whatnot, I think we see him again, and I expect it to see him against Font, to be honest, because the only other guy sitting there. Yeah,
well, I think Cody called him out. So if you just wanted to kill some time and go and get another fun win, that could be a good one. But yeah, he was saying he was in the fight with a lot of injuries. He went in with a lot of injuries, so a bit of time to heal up is not the end of the world. They could potentially do, you know, the fight in October and then maybe Christmas time do another fight if they want to rush it. But yeah, I expect Dillashaw to wait now. I think he'll sit on the sidelines, heal up a bit, and enjoy the fight, or potentially be a backup for that fight. And you know, someone could fall out. That it happens. It's, you know, COVID times as well. So I think it'll benefit him to stay ready.
No, absolutely. And it was a bit of a bantamweight showcase this past weekend. The co-main event bantamweights as well. Kyler Phillips, I think he was ranked 13 coming into this, taking on Rallian Piver, who is a flyweight who was ranked, is coming up to bantamweight in his debut. And this was just an awesome fight to watch, wasn't it? Really competitive. Seemed like Phillips was going to be a world ender in the first round, but kind of slipped away from him. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, this is one we're talking about with the decision. I think this is a really bad decision. It was a pretty easy fight to score, and I don't see how Kyler Phillips has come out on the losing end, because that first round was undoubtedly a 10-8. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It should have been scored 10-8, and two of the judges didn't. And then obviously Piver took the second round, and the third round was a coin toss, and I think they've all seemed to go towards him, which is fine. But I just don't see how Phillips doesn't get the draw, at least in this one, after that first round. He absolutely battled him. It was on the verge of getting stopped, you know, for the majority of the round. So yeah, bad judging. This is, you know, the last of the bad judging calls, and we'll get into more of them. But you know, obviously we don't want to take away from that, because it was fight of the night. Both guys brought it. They both walked away with an extra 50k, and it was a brilliant fight. It was just a shame at the end. I really didn't like that one.
Yeah, look, I thought the draw was the right call there. One of the judges had it correct, the other two were wrong, but you're right, it was a 10-8 in the first, and then I gave Piver the second and the third. A draw should have been done, but in MMA, for some reason, there's a problem with draws. People don't want draws. So I think that's what we don't see him. I think the judges don't want to give a draw, right? I think they'd rather just give it to one fighter. But this was definitely a draw, although Piver seemed to be taking over at the end there. In my opinion, the final round was not even a coin toss. I think Piver won that for sure. But obviously, if there was 10 more seconds in that first round, we wouldn't have had a second round, because you could have even stopped it at the end of that first, and it would have been a fair stoppage because he was on his last leg. So good on him for recovering and getting the win ultimately. But I hope that Phillips doesn't drop too far down with this loss, because, yeah, like I said, should have been a draw, not a loss.
Yeah, and it's similar to the main event where both guys brought it, both guys, put on a show, and really no one loses. I know TJ goes on to the title, and Piper goes, onwards, but Sandhagen's not going to drop too far. Phillips isn't going to drop too far, and yeah, it was. I just feel like they should give it a draw. I think you've got to be rewarded for your work, and there's only 3 rounds, and if you spend, 1/3 of the fight absolutely beating the brakes off someone, I think you should be rewarded for it. And obviously, we don't want to see, the 10-8 that given, when Jan wrestled Izzy, that was a 10-8 for some reason. But just call them right. Like, it's a really, I know it is a tough job, but it can be a simple job. And this one was a simple fight to score. And there's more simple fights to score that they seem to get wrong. So, I'm not sure what you do, but yeah, great fight nonetheless. And both guys brought it. So I'm glad at least Phillips walked away with an extra 50K. But I'm sure he would have took the draw or even a win.
No, absolutely. Before that, featherweights, Darren Elkins, a bit of a veteran around these parts, took on Derek Minner. And look, Elkins has had problems recently with, I wouldn't say problems, but he's been getting these guys who have smashed him. And then, in this fight, started off bad for him, but he managed to turn it around. What do you think of this one here?
Yeah, it was an epic comeback, and that's 2 in a row for him, and that was after 4 losses on the bounce as well. So, he's really turned it around. And Minner, he looks like a savage, and he looked like a savage for, the majority of that fight. It's just one of them. Elkins is like one of them punching bags. He just keeps coming back and keeps popping back up, and you can't empty the tank against him because he'll still be there, and unless the referee steps in, he's going to be there. So yeah, I think that's what happened. I think Minner really went for it, tried to finish the fight, and Elkins survived and turned the tables, and it was a brilliant win. And yeah, he also walked away with an extra 50K. So yeah, epic comeback, and it was a night of epic comebacks.
And he's always a fun fight to watch, right? Like, you always want to see Darren Elkins in there, especially against these guys that are coming in. Maybe Minner's not the best example, but you want to see him against these guys who need like a test. And you don't want to see them against someone else who's new as well. I'd prefer to see him against a veteran like Elkins, where you can really gauge their skill level. I mean, when he fought, who did he fight? Ryan Hall, right? He fought Ryan Hall, didn't he? Am I blanking out? He did.
Yeah, he did.
So that was a good test for Hall at the time, I thought, to go against someone who's bit of a veteran, a grappling specialist himself, And I think he's a good test for people. I like keeping him around the division, and keen to see who he draws next.
Yeah, he'll make you honest. Like, if you're not good enough, you won't get by Elkins. If there's a chink in the armor, is there something, he'll suss it out. And it's just a shame he has to take so much damage before he gets stuff done. But that's just that's his name. I think he's got it across his face every time he fights. He's got blood on his face. That's just his style. But it works, and it's worked the last 2 times, and it especially worked on Saturday night. It was a brilliant comeback.
Absolutely, and yeah, like you said, the damage is his name, and I guess that's how he fights too. So before that, we had women's flyweight prospects matchup of 2 prospects. I guess Barber a bit on the bounce coming into this one. Maverick a bit on the rise, I guess. So it was a good matchup. Probably early matchmaking. Maybe they could have kept a bit longer before matching these 2 people. But I guess this is the one that everyone thought the decision was wrong off, because I definitely thought the decision was wrong here. Macy Barber took a split decision win in this one after, in my opinion, losing the first 2 quite convincingly, and then having a good 3rd round. Not taking anything away from her. In that 3rd round, she looked very good. But in the first 2, I gave them to Maverick. Did you think the same?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's obviously it was a close competitive fight throughout. It's not like Maverick was putting a beating on Barber at any point, really. But there is such a thing as close but clear. And for me, it was very clear. And I think for a lot of people, it was very clear that Maverick did enough to win them first 2 rounds. Barber come on strong in the 3rd round, as she has lately. But it weren't enough. And it weren't enough to get a 10-8. It weren't enough to, make a real impact on them judges. So it's just baffling of what they're scoring, because, the people who are getting the correct score are not necessarily experts, just me and you, or general fans, and they're getting it bang on. So people who are paid to do this, and they do it every week, I don't know how they get these 2 decisions so wrong. So yeah, it was unfortunate, and Maverick takes a loss. But no, again, neither fighter comes out of this one looking too bad. Barber, she's got a bit of rub of the green. She moves on. Maverick, she'll be right there. She'll be in another tough fight, and I'm sure they'll meet again, down the line, up the rankings.
Yeah, look, I think the problem with the judges is they overthink. I don't know because I'm also not a judge, but I imagine they're just overthinking everything because they're trying to really think about who's win the fight when they should just be watching it and just writing down who they think won without thinking too much into it. Who knows how the judging goes? Don't really harp on that too much. But like you said, I don't think Maverick drops any much stock with this one. I think she'll go on, and most people know that she probably deserved the win here. So I imagine she'll draw someone from the rankings above her anyway. And yeah, so it should be good for both girls. See what they do next. My favorite fight on the card, the opening of the main card, the bantamweight fight between Adrian Yanez and Randy Costa. Costa just got such slick striking and just looked like a machine that first round. But Yanez has power and can take shots and land them back, and it proved to be the point in round 2 where he got a knockout. What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, it's brilliant fighting. I'm really high on Yanez. So going into this fight, I heard the hype around Costa. I was interested in it, and they had all the Dr. Pepper Reese's Pieces thing on social media. It was a fun, it's obviously we've had the build up lately. We've seen McGregor and Poirier, and it's got a bit, mean. It's nice to have some fun spirited, friendly competition, and then them getting in there and knocking lumps out of each other. It was a great fight. For Yanez, this makes me just even more high on him. The fact that he was able to survive such a tough first round, he did get beat up there. He showed all the heart, all the toughness, and then in the end, he just melted Costa, didn't he? I think by second round, Costa, we just couldn't believe he weren't going down. So it was a similar thing with Elkins and Minna, where he'd kind of emptied the tank and got caught, and lovely body shot, uppercut, and he puts him on the floor, but he was ready to go at that point. It was, beautiful work from Yanez, and Costa will come again. Few tweaks, he's still a contender, and bantamweight's such a fun division.
Such a fun division. For Yanez, what's next? I think a 15 guy would make a little bit of sense. Maybe he needs one more. The matchup I'd like to see that I can't see happening, but I would like to see it, is Yanez versus O'Malley. Just can't see it happening, but I think that would be a fun one. What do you think? Yeah,
well, you've got Piper, who's just won on that card, which it makes sense. I'm sure timelines it measures up pretty well, but I think you just keep pushing him up, slightly. He's not a superstar. He's not Sean O'Malley yet, but he is a very fun fighter to watch. And he's, I think, the more we push him, the more he gets on hopefully they put him on maybe a numbered card, and he can kind of get a bit more exposure, because I feel like he's a potential star ready to go. 27 years old. I think he's 4-0 in the UFC, mostly knockout. So yeah, he's a star in the making. It's just about exposing him, and just off the top of my head, looking at Piper, and we've just spoke about him, that would make sense. Someone near the rankings, just outside the rankings, the Casey Kennys, the Nathaniel Woods, Davy Grants, them type of fighters for Yanez next, I think.
Yeah, they're all good options. I'd be keen to see those two. I'll throw it to you because I'm sure you watched prelims. I missed them. So is there anything there you want to grab?
The Brendan Allen Serrano fight was a good one. Really fun fight. I think Brendan Allen looked fantastic. It was a close fight, but I gave it to him. And I think there was a funny moment on the broadcast where DC was ripping one of the journalists' cards and he posted onto Twitter. So, but then I think a lot of people had it close too. So Brendan Allen looked fantastic, and he was calling for that Sean Strickland fight, which I don't think he's going to get quite yet, the rematch. But he's a brilliant fighter. Then Imavov, big win for him against Heinisch. Mickey Gall, when we spoke last time, I didn't expect him to do much in this fight, and he made it look easy against Jordan Williams, who don't know if welterweight's the move, or potentially Mickey Gall has just improved, that much. And besides that, a couple more knockouts. Uriah, Gerardo Eubanks. But great fight, especially that main card it had a bit of everything. The main fight was, world class talent on show. We had some comebacks, we had some controversy. Brilliant, and some prospects in Yanez and Costa. So yeah, it absolutely delivered and more.
No, I agree with you there. It was a real great card for what I saw in the main card. We'll jump on to what we've got coming this weekend. We've got Uriah Hall taking on Sean Strickland in the middleweight division. I believe both guys are ranked at the moment, so this could have a bit of implications, like Izzy's looking for new fighters to take on. He hasn't already fought. They're probably border top 10, so maybe one or two after this, and we could be talking about a title for the winner here. So it is an important fight in the division. How do you see this one stacking up?
Yeah, I'm kind of all in on Sean Strickland for this fight. I'm pretty confident in that pick, but obviously that doesn't mean much. I was pretty confident in my Wonderboy pick the other week as well. So yeah, don't go and putting all your money on it. But I like Sean Strickland. I like his attitude. Obviously he's such a he's become like a love to hate guy. He goes on these rants. We had him on the channel the other day. He's ranting about all kinds, and he's a funny guy, and I just fancy him. I just feel like he potentially wanted a bit more, and I think it'll be evident in the fight. He'll, really pour it on Uriah. I think Uriah has obviously got one route to victory, and that's catching him with something flashy coming in. But I think Sean you'll be able to avoid that tuck up, land lots of shots, and eventually, get that stoppage. I think he's a potential title contender, and as you say, he gets on the mic, speaks a bit more crap, beats one or two more people. He is right in line for Izzy there.
Look, I think that every time we talk about Uriah Hall fight, I say the same thing. If Uriah Hall shows up, he will win this fight. If Uriah Hall is the guy that we saw on The Ultimate Fighter, and we've seen previously in the Octagon, he will win this fight because he is more technical a striker than Strickland. Strickland's not a great grappler who's going to take him down and drag him to the mats. This is going to be on the feet most of the time, I'd imagine. But can he because you know what Strickland's going to do. He's going to come forward. He's going to try and put a beating on him. Can Uriah Hall stay out of that and land something big and do what he should be able to do in this fight? And I tend to agree with you. I think Strickland probably take this one just because he's grittier. He's not going to take a back step. He's going to push the pressure. And I think he probably gets Hall out of there. I don't know which round, but it's a 5-round fight. So I don't see Hall sticking it at the full 5 if he doesn't show up like we'd all want him to, right? I would take Strickland as well in this one. But I would love to be surprised. I'd love to see another highlight reel knockout for Hall here.
It's always on the cards. Like, he can pull that off, absolutely no doubt. But we talk about this version of Uriah Hall that for me, it doesn't really exist. I think he's had these nice moments, and his best moments were in the tough gym where, there's no crowds, there's nothing really going on. It's against lower level opposition. Every time he's kind of stepped up, even against Anderson Silva, he might have got the finish, but he didn't look good. And, that was a 45-year-old Anderson Silva on, I don't know how many losing streak. And he looked shot shy. He looked nervous, and I think it'll just be another nervous performance from Hall. I think he'll be hesitant to throw, and Sean Strickland will take advantage of that. But the fact is, at some point, Hall will have to throw something nasty in defense at least, because he's gonna be pouring it on him. So potentially he can get him, but he's on a 4-fight winning streak, but it's not impressive, and it's not something that you're kind of saying this is a potential contender, because Bevon Lewis, he didn't look great against until he got that KO. Carlos Jr., split decision, and the Silva, and obviously the Wiseman was a leg break. So this is the fight for him. He's in a great position, main event against Sean Strickland, who's got a ton of momentum, so he can steal all that. I just don't see it happening.
No, and I hope we don't see another leg break in this one. I hope the chain doesn't continue. So let's just pray that doesn't be the case, and we get a good fight there. Not much else in this card that I really think we need to get into, but if you wanted to grab anything real quick, feel free to do so.
Well, obviously, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, but Chris Daukaus, that fight against Shamil got moved over to this card. So very fun fight. I'm high on Daukaus. There's a lot of going on at heavyweight right now, and I'm excited to see him again. And this is a good test for him. But yeah, as you said, it's not the most stacked card. I'm sure it'll deliver some fun fights as they always do. But not too much to break down. I think it's just all about sitting back, watching and enjoying this one. And I think it's an early one for me again. So, yeah, thankfully.
You go to news then. First thing I see here, Stipe Miocic hints at one championship move. I can't actually see what the article says because my screen's being weird, but I imagine it's his Instagram comment on one championship post, is it not?
Yeah. So basically, I think one was just kind of like, who should we sign? And Stipe appeared to volunteer himself, and he's frustrated at the fact that he hasn't got an immediate rematch with Ngannou. But I don't know. I obviously a lot of people put a lot of stuff into the fact that he's the most successful heavyweight ever. But can you make that rematch? Can you sell that rematch when he got beat up and stopped in 2 rounds? I'm not sure you can. What do you think?
Look, I think because he won the first match in such dominant fashion, it was a 5-0 washout. I think you can warrant giving him a third fight. I just don't know if you do it immediately after the second one, right? Especially the way that went down. Like, and that wasn't even that long ago. So if I'm him, I want more time to recover. Maybe a tune up in the wings there, but yeah, I definitely don't think you make it next for Ngannou. But I also at the same time think you could make the rematch in the near future. Let's say the winner of Lewis and Gain turns around in 3 months. Say October, they do a heavyweight title again, unify the belts, and Ngannou wins by knockout in the first fucking round. You know what I mean? Like, you could do a rematch with him and Stipe in December. But at this point, I think the Stipe's going to have to sit for a while.
Yeah, he is quite he is disrespectful by the UFC. Don't get me wrong, but he's also been a tough champion because he's it's been once a year that the belt's getting defended. So I'm sure the UFC aren't too keen on giving him the chance when they don't need to give him the chance. And for me, there's not much in that rematch. I know he originally beat Ngannou, but I think it was evident that he weren't going to be able to take him down. This is an evolved version of Ngannou, and I don't really want to see that yet. I think, but again, Stipe could probably sit and wait. It's just you want to see Ngannou take a few tests in between. So yeah, it's all what they do. And if John Jones is open to that fight, I think that'd be a perfect fight because Stipe still gets the big fight, gets what he deserves, but potentially not. And then we give Ngannou some time to, cement himself as a champion. But yeah, very interesting, and I wouldn't be too surprised if the UFC, did some type of exchange again with Stipe. He's on the tail end of his career. As is evident, he's not the most popular with the UFC brass. So I don't know if they could potentially engineer something there. But very interesting for him. He's clearly not happy.
Yeah, swap Stipe for Gary Toner or something. Maybe that'd work. Yeah, that's that anyway. We'll jump into something else. I'm seeing here that Jake Paul claims he's in talks to fight Conor McGregor. What's going on there?
I think he's his team and Conor's team are in talks apparently, but I don't know. Is this the time? Maybe Conor with one leg would be a better fight. It would be more even fight. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's at least a year away, isn't it, until Conor's back anyway? So I don't know why he's decided to say this now, but I'm sure Conor's team are entertaining it. There's a lot of money on the table, for any like a lot of easy money or easier money. You know what I mean? If you can make 50, 60 million fighting Jake Paul rather than 20 million fighting Poirier, and obviously they're both brilliant amounts of money, but you take the bigger bag for the easier fight. So I understand why Conor McGregor's team are entertaining it, but for me, it's all still a bit far fetched, especially right now. Obviously, he's in a cast.
No, absolutely. I don't even think we see it ever. Because I think that if he passes the Woodley fight, I don't think Conor's team will want to take a fight. Clearly, he can box if that's the case, and also the size thing is just too massive a difference, in my opinion. But hey, Conor's got to heal that leg, so I guess we'll see next year. Something else, I don't know if you caught it this past weekend, the Bare Knuckle Fight Championship. Paige Van Zandt versus Rachel Osovich. Osovich gets the win there. Did you see that one coming?
No, I didn't. I thought it was all set up for Paige, and I think it was set up for Paige. I thought they think, obviously it's two, beautiful girls, and they've matched them together, and blah blah blah. But I think Paige was expected to win, and Ostovich really caused an upset in that one, and she looked great. I watched it; she looked great. She had great hands. She showed a lot. I don't know what the move is for Paige now. She's clearly doing well, but it's bare knuckle for her. That's 2 in a row against, Britain Hart is, a bit of a savage, but Ostovich is not necessarily known for that boxing. So I don't know what you do with Paige. I'm sure she'd be fine, but maybe go back to MMA and let the boxers box, let the strikers strike. But because Paige has had some, she's got beautiful kicks. She's got a lot going for her in MMA, and she's had some nice submissions too. So I think that would be the route, but it's all about money, isn't it? And how much they can make. And Bare Knuckle are paying these fighters a lot of money, so I'm sure she's happy there, although she'd prefer to be winning.
Look, I was very surprised by the loss, and I thought Osovich did really well. I was impressed by Osovich. But for both girls, I just don't understand why they do it, right? It must just be the love for competition, but bare knuckle of all things to be doing, especially when they could just be fighting MMA. I'm sure Bellator would sign either girl. I'm sure One Championship would sign either girl. They both have quite large names. They have to be paid something impressive to be. But yeah, it's a weird one because, like I was saying, both girls could just stick to a modeling career. They have big enough names that they don't need to fight, but clearly they want to fight because it's what they love doing, which is, I'm all for that, you know what I mean? But bare knuckle might not be the place for Paige, is my real findings from this past week. So hopefully she works out what's best for her and goes elsewhere or sticks it out at bare knuckle. But I can't see the appeal being there if she loses another fight. You know, if she fights like a bare knuckle fighter, like someone that isn't a big name from MMA or boxing or something, where's the interest? Because if we see her lose again, it's like there's no interest she's gonna win. You know what I mean? I don't want to be too harsh on her, but yeah, bare knuckle doesn't look like the right move in my opinion.
And she has been competitive in these fights. In both fights, she was competitive, but she clearly didn't win either. For me, she didn't win either. And it is, I prefer to see in MMA, but the money potentially just isn't there. I think the money is in BKFC. And what do they want to do? Do they want to keep investing in someone who isn't winning? And every time she loses, it does devalue her in terms of, do we want to watch her again because she's just lost to someone who isn't necessarily known for the boxing? So yeah, I think once she frees up, she goes to Bellator. That would be a cool move, and they could potentially do something there. But I'm not sure. And as you said, she'll be fine. But it's easy enough saying, "Oh, you just go and do your Instagram thing or do whatever she does." But she's a fighter, and she didn't get into fighting to be an Instagram model or all this stuff. She did it to be a fighter, and I'm sure she'll keep pressing on with that. Looking forward to seeing what she does next. I prefer it when bare knuckle, but if the money's there, I'm sure that's where it'll be.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing of news I've got, I don't know if you saw it today or are really familiar. The Danaher Death Squad has broken up. They're no more. John Danaher's Jiu-Jitsu grappling submission squad, Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan, Nicky Ryan, all those crew, they're broken up. They're no more. So I just thought that was interesting news. Did you have any thoughts?
No, what happened? Why have they broke up?
So there was a couple of reasons. John Danaher posted his Instagram. The biggest reason was that the team couldn't decide together of where to bring the gym to next because they were in New York, but obviously COVID stuff and everything, they had to move from New York to keep training. But they couldn't come to an agreement for the whole team of where to train from. And on top of that, he also said like personality conflicts or something, and like to do with branding stuff, like where some individuals' brands are excelling the team's brand and like conflicts there. So yeah, kind of businessy stuff seems like, but it's a shame because they were the best like grappling squad in the world. I mean, they'd go to ADCC and whatnot and clean up. Look at, it was Pan Am Worlds or something, 2018. They went and won like medals in every division, all of them won medals. So it's a shame to see them break up, but I guess they're all still exceptional grapplers, and wherever they go, just going to excel where they end up,
Yeah, and I think that with that, it's like just a case of getting too big for like everyone getting too big. Each one of them is probably very capable of having successful gyms on their own. So that's probably the next stage. Now, if I want to be living in, California and you want to live in Seattle, like we can't make it work. I'll open my gym here, you open your gym here, and that's how it works. So yeah, it's a unexpected news, but kind of expected because at some stage you get too big and everyone goes their separate ways. So yeah,
absolutely. I don't really have any other news that I can think of. Is there anything else you speak about?
Only thing is, did you see the video of Hector Lombard and Tyron Woodley kind of getting into it?
So I saw the clip, I read the caption, but I haven't actually heard what happens in the video. So if you can fill me in.
Basically, Lombard accuses Tyron of trying to steal his side chick, which is just it's a weird thing to have an argument about. And then he goes on afterwards, he explains it, but Lombard's an angry guy anyway, isn't he? He's a hothead, as we've seen the other week. Someone walked into space and he cracked them. So I think Tyron was just trying to keep that Jake Paul payday alive and not get involved in any unnecessary scraps. But Lombard looked like he wanted to go. So I think he was trying to set up a bare knuckle fight as well, down the line. But yeah, he went on to his Instagram afterwards and kind of said, I was seeing this girl, but then I had this side chick who was in the gym with us, and Tyron was trying to steal her and all this stuff. It's all unsavory stuff. But yeah, just a strange interaction between two guys, and that's potentially a fight we can see down the line.
I don't think that fight goes too well for Lombard, to be honest. A bit aged out. I mean, Woodley hasn't looked that great in his last few, so hey, that could be interesting. We'll see how the Jake Paul fight goes, what happens there. Not really interested in the drama, though. I mean, if it's his side chick, maybe you should just chill out and let it go, but that's just my 2 cents, Not much else to say there. anything else? Let me just do a quick scroll, make sure I'm not missing anything big. You see Brandon Moreno training with Canelo?
Yeah, that's epic. I love Brandon Moreno. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for anyone to be a champion and to see him get all the fame and link up with these guys and get the respect of Canelo. It's totally deserved, and it can only make him better. You know what I mean? To be even picking up little tips, and I'm sure he'll take to it like a duck to water. So yeah, brilliant. Love Brandon Moreno, love Canelo, and it was great to see them link up.
And you did see what Moreno was saying about his next title defense. He was talking about maybe Garbrandt, Askarov if he beats Perez. I think. But yeah, just the Garbrandt one to me was stuck out. Like, why would you want to fight Garbrandt right now? He's just lost another fight. He wants to come down to flyweight. There's talks of him fighting Kakar of France, who's barely top 5, I think, at the moment. Why would you give him an immediate title shot? In my opinion, he doesn't deserve it, but I want to hear your thoughts.
No, he doesn't deserve it, but he is Cody Garbrandt. I do think his name holds a lot of weight still, and it is interesting that he had a title shot at that weight, and only for things got in the way, and then he ended up having an extra fight at bantamweight. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but for me, it's not. I think he needs at least one win. I think he'll have success at 125. I really do. Obviously, Brandon just wants the biggest fights he can get, and I think Cody is the biggest name in and around that division right now. I don't think the Figueiredo fight makes sense. So, yeah, I understand what he's doing. He's just trying to cash in, and I don't mind it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be who did we say then, Askarov or someone along them lines.
No, it's probably Askarov if he gets past Perez. I believe that fight's matched. If it's not matched, then whoever Askarov fights next. But that'll pretty much do it there. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you after the fights to wrap up all the action.
Thanks, guys.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.